Hey, hello again, guys. How you doing today? Thank you for joining the channel one more time. So today we're trying to go over another code, try to break it down and discuss it, and try to expand as much as we can with the idea that the code carries in it. And the code that we're going to be discussing today is not really referenced to somebody in particular. Actually, today I'm going to try to go over two different codes. Both of them are about the same subject, but in two different meanings. One of these codes is a code by the famous Paulo Coelho, and another one is just a general code that is not referenced to somebody in particular, and that's the one that we're going to be starting with. So let's get in it. So the code that we're going to be discussing, it goes as follows. Perfection is a routine. That's why the sun does the same thing every day. So again, where I'm going to say it one more time. Perfection is a routine. That's why the sun does the same thing every day. So right away, when we see this code, of course, it's basically trying to connect the routine or something that you regularly do on the regular basis to achieving perfection. That's what the idea of the code is. So what that suggests is that perfection is achieved through consistent and repetitive action. So the more that you repeat a certain action and the more you're consistent with it, you will get to the point where you're going to be perfecting whatever action you're doing. Obviously, this applies to multiple facets, different ways of thinking. It applies to different type of routines that somebody can apply to their life, and achieve perfection in whatever activity or action they're getting into. So, also, what the comparison to the sun is, just saying that obviously the sun is something that we all depend on in our life as human beings. Earth in general would not be in existence if it wasn't for the sun. The sun, as we all know, is the source of heat. It's the one of the main aspects of the existence of the ecosystem that we live in. Everything depends on the sun rays, the sun heat, to exist. That being said, one of the main things that the sun does is it repeats what it does on daily basis. That means the sunrise and the sunset and the movement in the skies. Obviously, Earth is what's rotating around the sun, but for when we're looking at a code, we're looking at it from the aspect of what we see, right? So every day we see the sun rising and the sun setting, and it does the same thing every day, has been doing the same thing every day for as existence has been, as long as we've been in existence, or Earth has been in existence, millions of years ago. So basically, although of course now with science we know that Earth is the one going around the sun, but when we're talking about a code, the code is trying to simplify. It's not trying to get into the scientific aspect of how the Earth is the one going around the sun and is doing the same thing every day. It's simplifying it to the point where we can relate to the subject by saying that the sun is the one that's doing the same thing every day. And of course, every everything is in existence, especially when we're talking about space and existence in space, is basically dependent on doing the same thing every day. I mean, if the planets don't do the same thing every day, or Earth, the planet that we live on, doesn't repeat its same actions every day, existence wouldn't be possible. You know, gravity depends on it, oxygen depends on it, the magnetic field that Earth creates depends on it doing the same thing every day. Even when we try to look into the future of from an astrological point of view, we're able to, for example, figure out when there would be a solar eclipse, or when we'll have a lunar eclipse, based on that repetition that is always happening. So even for us to forecast, the weather, to forecast, future astrological events, depends on this daily routine, or yearly routine, and sometimes it's way more than that. That all the planets around us, or all the universe, is actually repeating on regular basis. Um, that means it's that if we believe that this universe that we live in is perfect, and obviously we all believe that, because the amount of pattern that we see all around us, and if one thing goes wrong with this pattern, how things can go catastrophically bad for our planet and for the whole universe, tells us that the reason for achieving this perfection in the creation that we see around us is, in a way, a routine. It's in a way, things are always repeating and doing the same thing on daily, yearly, monthly basis. So now let's try to link that idea. Now we explained the idea of perfection and how it's linked to routine. But if we want to link that to our daily basis, or to an average human being life, of course, we're not talking about a human life, or a human action or activity or habit is not going to change the world, although some believe it can. But we're talking about what it can do for you as a person, or as an individual. So if you want to achieve a certain perfection in any type of activity, or a habit, the best way to achieve it is to set a routine for this habit, or this activity, or this action. And eventually, because of the repetitiveness that you're putting into it, you're gonna get to a point where you're perfecting that. This applies to, obviously, multiple fields in life. It can apply to, for example, in sports. It can apply to an athlete that has a routine, a certain routine in training. That routine, the more the athlete is engaged in that certain routine, the more he's going to perfect, or they're going to perfect what they're doing. It applies to for boxers. It applies for basketball players. It applies to any type of sports. uh, it's proven that with routine and with regular repetition, an athlete can definitely become better in what they're doing. And actually, it's so connected that it doesn't work in any other way. Meaning that if an athlete doesn't have a regular routine that they're following, whether it's with their workout ethics, whether it's with their food consumption, whether it's with the mental training that they're applying in their life, uh, they would never achieve the heights that they are aspiring to unless they have that type of routine that is getting them to get to the certain level. Also, we can look at it from a biological point of view, meaning that even human muscles depend on routine to get better and stronger. Obviously, if you have a certain routine where you work out your muscles on regular basis and you keep repeating that, the results of muscle growth will be better. Whereas if you do it every now and then and you don't have a set up routine, you can't achieve the same results that you would have achieved if you are on a certain routine. So the main idea of the code is putting us in that mindset, the mindset of routine creates perfection. Routine is what gets you to perfect any skill that you're looking to perfect. It's an idea that is very straightforward, but a lot of people can't do because routine can tend to be boring. That's the main thing about routine. Routine is something that requires a lot of dedication, and it requires a lot of faith, and it also requires a lot of mental strength to be able to apply the same thing on daily basis. Humans by nature, they don't like routines, because we have a thinking brain, and our creative brain is always going to tell us that I don't want to do the same thing that I did yesterday. I want to do something else. Like I have all these experiences that I can do or get into. Why would I limit myself to a certain activity if I can do anything else that I want? That's the way a human brain thinks, and logically, it makes sense. It makes sense that that routine is not what our brains would usually tend to acknowledge or want, in our lives. But also, by knowing that the only way to perfect something is requires a certain routine in our life. Also, that logic for a human brain can also, convince that brain that this is the way to get to perfect the experience that you're going through, and especially if you have an end goal of reaching a certain level in a skill that you're doing, whether it's work again, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's any type of a skill. Routine is the way to get there. So because routine can be interpreted as something boring, we're going to look into the quote by Paulo Coelho. He's it's a very famous quote. Obviously, a lot of people know who Paulo Coelho is. He's the author of the very famous novel, The Alchemist. And in addition to a lot of different novels, he's a very spiritual writer, and most of his novels are usually talking about spiritual things and self empowerment, and they're very motivational. The Alchemist happens to be one of my favorite books, of all time. It's a great novel, and a lot of people have read that. I mean, he has more than probably 1 billion copy sold of that novel. So it's a very successful novel and has a lot of messages. But what Paulo Coelho uh, says about routine, and this is why I'm bringing it into this discussion, is he says, and it's a famous quote by him. He says, "If you think adventure is dangerous, try routine. It's lethal." So, in this quote, Paulo Coelho is actually implying that you don't want to have a routine in your life because it's lethal. Most people think of adventure as something dangerous because usually adventure, it's going into something unknown, trying to discover something that you didn't know before, and not going into a known territory for you. Like it's more of like discovering and finding and acquiring new skills instead of just focusing on the things that you know and going with your life with a daily type of routine. So I'm gonna say what I think that his quote really suggests, like exactly, and then we'll discuss it a little bit. So the quote, it suggests that a life without taking risks or trying new things can be as dangerous and ultimately harmful as as a potentially dangerous adventure. So the routine, while seemingly safe, can lead to a stagnant and unsatisfying existence. So that's the meaning of the quote by Paulo Coelho. That routine, because it's an activity that is repeating, like we discussed in the first part of the first quote, it's a repetition of the same activity or the same training or skill set on regular basis. Because of that, a person following a certain routine and not taking risks or trying something new, basically can feel a sense of stagnation and also unsatisfaction with going with their life. So adventure is important in the eyes of Paulo Coelho. Now, I happen to agree with both quotes. I think both quotes are definitely they're talking about routine, but I think both quotes are discussing the aspect of routine from a completely different angle. So somebody can, in my opinion, a person can be both uh, adventurous and at the same time, follow a certain routine in their life. I don't think the two collide, together. Um, of course, if somebody is doing the same exact thing in all aspects of their life on daily and regular basis, that can be unsatisfying because the human brain is not made to be stuck in repeating the same activities every day. Life of a human being is not. No, I'm not trying to say it's short, but it's limited. Everybody at one point reaches to a point where you get older, your body is not working the same, you get sick, uh, you know, uh, and you miss the opportunity of being adventurous and try to expand your life if you don't do that, and if you're stuck in a certain routine that you're repeating over and over and over. Meaning that if you're working in a job, the same job for 20 years, putting in the hours from this hour to this hour, although you're going to be very good and skilled at that job because you're doing it every day, but if you're not trying to be adventurous and go out and try new things and explore new potentials and new ideas that you can make your life a little bit more adventurous, you're gonna feel unsatisfied when at a certain point in your life that yeah, I spent all my life doing this. His idea of approaching this subject is not coming from the point like we discussed in the first quote. So it's not coming from the idea whether routine can carry a positive aspect if it was applied in the right way. The point of his quote is to show that if you live your life in a repetitive pattern and regular pattern without trying to explore different aspects of life, by being adventurous, going to explore different aspects of life, and you just keep doing the same pattern of life on daily basis, that can leave you in a state of stagnation and unsatisfaction, and that can be basically lethal. And lethal here, it's not in the mean, obviously, of actually deadly, but lethal to the soul and the heart and the brain, like to your soul or to your mental state. That's what lethal applies here, or implies here. So and so that's why I see the quotes, although they're both discussing the idea of routine, but it's being discussed from completely two different sides. One is being discussed from the aspect of achieving perfection or mastery in a certain skill requires routine, and comparing it to the sun, which is a perfect creation that does the same thing every day, proves that a certain routine can create perfection. And we went over that in detail, in the first part of the video. But also, for a human brain, a human creative brain, having a routine that is being repeated on daily and regular basis without trying to explore any aspects of that brain creativity, or having an adventurous thinking, can also lead to a lot of mental disruption, and can feel really lethal. The two ideas, although they're discussing routine, they're completely approaching it from a different point of view. The whole point that I wanted to show here is not to look at the idea of routine as something that is always negative, but also not to take it as it's the only way to go. Lives should always have a healthy amount of routine, so that we keep growing and improving in the things that we do on the daily basis, and and being organized with our thoughts and our time is important, for that aspect of human beings' character. And that's what routine is. Routine is trying to organize time, and trying to organize space, and patterns of that has the aspect of repeating something over and over. And that's definitely needed in a human being's life to achieve a certain type of success and perfection. But also, because of the vastness of this beautiful world that we live in, and the awesome opportunities that we get to experience on a daily basis, we have to keep ourselves open to going on different types of adventures, trying new things, not resisting change just because we're used to certain type of things that we're doing and repeating on daily basis, and they're working for us. be open-minded to try to approach different things from different perspectives, and that also is something that will give you satisfaction on the long run. After you sit and after years of when you're at an older age and you're reflecting back on your life, it's always better to have lived through various experiences and adventures than to be at a point where you can't do that anymore and have some kind of remorse that I wish I did, and I wish I was more like open to going on different types of adventures rather than being in my comfort zone and just repeating my daily routines, thinking that that is enough for me to give me stability and ultimately satisfaction. So yeah, that's the whole idea of the two codes, is trying to merge the two ideas together and try to come up with the best way of be able to live our lives where we can take advantage of the perfection that routines and patterns can give us, and in which our brains is fully capable of receiving and adapting to, but at the same time using the other side of our brain, which is the creative side, which always is pushing us to try new things and not to be refusing changes, and not to be afraid of chasing new endeavors. That aspect of our life is also very important, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to mix the two and get to the point where we're having a good and fair amount of balance of both routine and adventure. Yeah, so that's what the whole message that I wanted to discuss. That's why I was going to talk about the two codes, and so that we can come to this conclusion that we just said. And yeah, if you guys like the subject, or you want to have a little bit more of a discussion about it, please write me your comment on the bottom in the comment section. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm gonna keep trying to make more of these videos, to dig into stuff like that, and see if we can always come up with like new things that we can benefit on and apply in our daily lives. And I hope you like the video. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.